What's
I'm
up?
good. No, I'm good.
Jared,
I don't want to let my secrets out.
Come on, do it.
Let me see it.
This is all part of our camping trip.
Tell me about the hooks you caught them on today. Where's it at?
And then what Cinco's were they? Were they these ones?
No, they were a little bigger than that. 65-pound braid, 5/0 super line hook. Set the hook, crank them into the boat. Game over.
What's up, guys? Bearded Bassin here. I got my fishing partner, Jake Howard. We fished the Clear Lake BBT TOC this weekend. We ended up in 6th place. And so me and Jake are just kind of going to give you a breakdown of what we did and what worked for us. And so
How we did it.
Of how we did it. Yeah, 6th place, $2,075 check. So Jake, why don't you kind of explain what you caught them on and how you caught them?
So we'll start with practice. We knew going into this event that it would be tough. We kept that in mind the whole time, and I kind of heard through the grapevine that you had to fish slow, But of course, I had to figure that out on my own. Started out on Wednesday. I got there early, got the boat checked and everything, and went to work with reaction. And I only caught 2 fish that day. I don't think I had any more bites. I think I only caught the 2 fish that I could on reaction. So Caleb came up that night. We went out the next morning. It helps a lot having 2 sticks in the boat to practice.
Yep.
I still wanted to make sure in the morning that I couldn't get on a reaction bite. We went out and started in a spot that I've never fished before. And I started with reaction. I started throwing a jig in the morning and stuff. Could not get bit. Caleb was getting bit on like a drop shot or shaky head and stuff like that behind me. So I picked up this.
So Ned rig.
And I caught 2 fish on it in practice. I started throwing a Cinco and I couldn't get anything on the fall was the problem. So everything had to be bottom contact. So that's what made me pick up this Nico rig. Bottom contact the whole time. I only caught a couple fish on it in practice, but it ended up being the ticket during the tournament because I knew that Caleb would have the drop shot tied on. So I didn't mess with that. I tied this straight on. They seemed to like this a lot. And we started throwing this a bunch, and all of our fish the first day were caught on these. There's a couple different colors, but I don't think that mattered as much.
Yeah, our big fish came off that color.
The first day.
The first day. Jake was throwing that one. I ended up picking up a little bit of a darker color. It was pretty chocolate brown water up there. I was throwing the 6.8 flick shake just like that, but in a bluegill pattern. And it kind of had that bluegill pattern, but it also had the gold flake in it. And I think that was
The gold flake.
The gold flake was a big key to what those fish kind of wanted. And throughout the tournament, we were running the same area. We ran maybe a 3-mile stretch of docks. We would fish it through, and then we'd literally start back over and fish it again.
Yeah, in practice, we barely fished it. We fished it for a couple hours, and we didn't want to sore lip them, so we just left it alone. On tournament day, the first day was kind of a learning experience. We don't fish this lake a whole lot, We kind of realized what was there because we lost a lot of fish, broke them off and stuff. On day 1, we had an all right bag. Caleb had one that was like 4.5 that seemed huge at the time. But
yeah. When you're catching 12 inchers, it seems giant.
We kept our heads down, and I wanted to touch on this the most is we were just calm the whole time. And I think that, when you're fishing those docks and you're breaking fish off and you're breaking lines off and you're snagging, and if you can stay calm, I think that goes a really, really long way. I don't know, we never got in a hurry. There was a bunch of chatter the whole time in practice about people catching this and people catching that, and we never let any of that affect us, and I think that helped us out a lot. And we went to those fish on tournament day and just said, we're gonna beat them up, and they were there on first day, so we went back the second day with a little better knowledge of the area, and it showed the second day,
Yeah, so when we were fishing these docks, we ended up finding a spot. We were kind of running through docks, and we kind of saw this brush pile sitting in about the right water column. And the first time we noticed it, we actually were on the trolling mode, and we kind of blew right over it. And I remember looking at Jake. Jake kind of stored it back in his memory. Okay, that brush pile is there. Make sure we hit it on our next pass. And so our next pass through, I was on the front of the boat, and I threw in that flick shake. And
that was actually the next day we started there, too.
Yeah, we started there the next day. I threw that flick shake just outside the brush pile. The crazy thing about these bites, guys, was that you didn't really feel the bite that often. It was almost like there was something mushy on the end, or you knew there wasn't supposed to be a rock there. There was just a little bit of pressure, and so that's why we got snagged so many times, as you can see in some of the videos.
Yeah, we're swinging on everything.
Literally swinging on every small thing that we felt. And so I threw into this brush pile, something felt different, and so I set the hook. I sat there with the rod doubled over. It looked like I was snagged, but I knew I could feel just there was something wobbling under there. And so I was like, Jake, this is a fish. And I look back at him and he's like, nah, dude, your rod isn't moving at all. I'm like, I can feel it. I can feel the wobble. And then we kind of get closer. I kept the pressure on him, and all of a sudden the fish shoots out. And it was our best fish of that day. Or at that point, it was our best fish. It was like a 3-pounder, you know, and so we put it in the boat, and then we were like, all right, we gotta make a mental note, like that little brush pile had a fish on it. And not but a couple hours later, we come back to that spot, and that's where Jake picked up this fish, and he'll kind of explain how he did it.
Was throwing the 1/4 ounce Canopy Grenades jig, orange and black with D-bomb black and red flake trailer. I knew I wanted to keep it dark, but it had to be light because there's a lot of pressure on that lake. The slow fall, I think, that is what made the difference, because like I said earlier, I couldn't get anything on the fall. Once the sun got up and it got hot enough, that's when they did start eating that jig, and I figured that out the second day. Actually, that big fish is the first fish during the tournament that I caught on a jig. And it ate it on the fall, and then after that it was like a flurry, like I caught that big one. And then I was like, wow, can't believe I haven't been doing this the whole time. But I honestly don't think it would have worked. Caught that one, went around and cooled up a couple more times with the same jig, and that was our second day charge. That I honestly think we could have done the same exact thing or better the first day too, but we just, it's all a learning curve. But
it is. Yeah, and so that was kind of our experience up at Clear Lake. Day 1, we ended up weighing in 1272. And we did break off a lot of fish that day. We should have had a better bag, but that's what we ended up with. We ended up in 25th place out of 185 boats, and we were like, well, I think we're kind of in the range of being able to catch a check. And so we knew that day 2, we just needed to keep our heads down in the same area that we found fish and just grind it out, and that's what we did. We went back to the same area. We ended up catching that 660 was the big fish, and that anchored our 17.88 pound bag. And that gave us a 2-day total of like 30.66, and was good enough for a 6th place check. So that was kind of our experience. It was crazy. Both of us, like, after we got our check, we kind of had to sit down and went to Taco Bell, and we were literally just like, holy crap, what happened? We fished so slow.
Both of these baits I've never thrown before in my life until I got up there. So being versatile and fishing out of your element was just a big deal too. Like, having that confidence, you can throw whatever you want. You just gotta have confidence in yourself.
On your right.
Oh, that was
Well, go up there and look for your line.
Really? It broke off, dude. Good one?
First one. Can't even see the freaking fish to to net it, yeah. That's a better one.
Good one. Was that an accurate cast?
Better one. A little bit better. Hey, that's a little better. Ooh, came off. Oh no, it didn't. It's a 3-pounder. Attaboy, Jake.
That'll pull that one little baby one out.
Well guys, battery died, and then this happened right there. That's a solid freaking Clear Lake fish right now. That is a tough fish to catch. I never had a fish peel so much drag off of my reel. I'm still shaking, guys. That is a solid fish. That's gonna help us out. Almost a 20 gram, baby. Definitely kind of. There you go. Felt better than that. I felt the bite on that one though. Yeah, it's shaking. I can feel it shaking. It was shaking. Not right now, maybe. Yeah, it is. It's a big one, dude. Oh, big one. I told you it was there, dude. I could feel it shaking.
I'm like, no.
I could feel it shaking, baby. There's our limit. Another 2-pounder right there. Oh, I'm getting a bite.
Yes! Woo! I'm a big freaking dry.
Dude, that is a toad.
Toad, bro. Show that one to the freaking camera.
Yeah.
Jake, we're in it. We're in it, bro. We need another one. Go ahead.
Is that a coal or what?
That's a cool, baby. Woohoo! Oh, Lucerne. And then deep. Good one. It's a decent one, dude. Jake, the freaking tank. JVD. JVD.
You got it, Randy. Thank you.
Wow, that's a good looking fish right there. So how was your day, dude?
It was good. A lot better than yesterday.
A lot better than yesterday. Well, that's a nice fat fish.
My partner's the one who turned in that guy's wallet.
Oh, okay, good. What was your partner's name?
Caleb Smith.
Caleb Smith.
They were, at first it was Nico rig in the morning, and then once it got a little bit of wind, I picked up the jig.
Nice, 1788. Weights are going. Nice weight.
Sixth place of this tournament. They had 1272 the first day, 1788, 3060. This is how their money went. 1100, 90, 155, 250, 480, $2,075 for sixth place. Give a round of applause for Jake Howard, Fable Smith. Over 2G still. Anybody you guys want to thank?
The guy, I don't know his name, but he was in a red nitro. We had a big one that was he wasn't doing so good, and we asked him, and he gave us some.
The live well treatment helped that fish live?
I think so. Right away. I think so.
That's awesome.
Was it from Lake County? Because that wasn't live well.